Fantastic Four always seemed like a distant third place of the three big July releases, okay? Jurassic World Rebirth is kind of an enigma in and of itself. It's very weird and probably the most shocking revelation of July that one's not going to clear $1 billion. I think everybody, myself included, had it already earmarked to join that 10-digit club, but guess what? Didn't end up really shaking out like that. Oh well, sucks to suck, I guess. Superman's international box office numbers is a little bit surprising, but that was, of course, done in by some atrocious marketing, I would imagine. Or maybe it's just James Gunn's humor doesn't really translate outside of the confines of James Gunn's house. But to see the Fantastic Four heading into its second weekend, it completely and totally falling off of everyone's radar, that's a little bit surprising. I think just behind the Jurassic World revelation, because that one's like legitimately surprising. But just how much this movie was pushed, how much hype there was during that gap week between the release of Superman and Fantastic Four. Just how you could not go anywhere without seeing something regarding this movie. And then, yeah, in its first week of release, effectively evaporated from the conversation, mostly because people came out of the theater and it wasn't offensively bland like Rebirth was, and something, because at least you could glom on to, it was cool to see dinosaurs again when it came out of the theater on that one, or Superman being one of the most polarizing movies I've seen in a while. People really, 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 really love it, and then there's the other ones who, if they express an opinion that they don't like it, you'll have the people that really, really like it and go after them day and night. It's a weird cabal of individuals, and of course we'll kick that hornet's nest with the next video on the day, so don't you worry on that. But when it comes to Fantastic Four, like even a week after release, and listening to a few different reviews, people come out and said, it's fine, I guess. Apathy truly is the deciding factor when it comes to movies ultimately flopping, because that's where this one's heading. There's no two ways about it. Fantastic Four projected to see big box office drop in its second weekend, far worse than Superman. Because, yeah, if you remember the second weekend for Superman, because it had no competition, it actually had like a tremendously good hold. It had a tremendous first week, and then, of course, only dropping like, 55% in its second weekend. Yeah, you don't see that for cape shit movies. Fantastic Four is showing signs of stumbling early after a front-loaded debut. Not really, it was the weakest of July, but okay. That exposed the weakness of the modern Marvel brand. According to recent reports from Deadline, the film is projected to experience a significant 60% drop, in its second weekend at the domestic box office, potentially earning around $47 million and signaling a weaker audience retention compared to Superman. This comes on the heels of the first weekend that ultimately fell short of expectations and fell short in comparison to Superman's debut. Yeah, ended up falling, $5 million short? Oh well, highlighting ongoing challenges for the Marvel Cinematic Universe as it builds towards Avengers Doomsday, which this film really didn't do as well. Like, it for as much as it was being sold as, hey guys, there's no homework that's needed on this one, with all of the baggage that statement includes. We'll just go ahead and disregard that for a second. But yeah, knowing that this is the first movie in Phase 6 and it does nothing to really help kickstart the whole, we're focusing on quality, not quantity anymore. But the next film is also supposed to include this cast of characters, and you do nothing to tie that in? Very, very strange. Okay. But it's funny, right? Because this one has the best word of mouth in regards to quality of project. Like, it is far and away the best movie to come out in July by all accounts. Mostly because it has one good act, and unlike the other two films that totally and completely fall apart the moment that the opening title card appears, there's at least some decent stuff that goes on prior to the meteor shower and the arrival of female Silver Surfer. Even though I could argue that, Sue Storm having an emotional argument with the world's smartest man and him not being able to give a very easy response to his emotional plea before the camera cuts and they move into the next scene is a little bit disjointed, but it's supposed to play to their target audience because Sue Storm, she's the leader of the Future Foundation, and she's the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four, she's the leader of the team. Like, yeah, you want to go ahead and play that card in 2025? And not exactly going to work out that well for you. But simply just looking at the box office returns for Fantastic Four, I mean, we haven't got an update on the international box office, and we probably won't, I think, until Monday or something like that. So yeah, this is fairly anemic, honestly. $150 million in its first week. Not a great opening week. And yeah, last we talked about this, we only had the Monday, which $10 million Monday is not good at all whatsoever. But the discount Tuesday up to $14 million. Yeah, that was expected. But yeah, and then really falling off on Wednesday. Oof, God, that's going to be tough. And I can imagine Thursday probably won't get back up to 8 digits. It's very likely to languish somewhere in on and around 8 or 9, depending on the other cheap days, other discount days that other theaters have started to implement earlier this year. That could be about where it's at. But yeah, heading into the weekend, and if you're looking at a $45 million domestic weekend, I mean, you are going to firmly lose July, because even if you just simply look at the beautiful, what we have the best graphs that are out there. The yellow is for Fantastic Four, and bro, it's not a good thing. And the blue is for Jurassic World Rebirth, and that's just simply, obviously, domestic box office. And it's wild that Superman is on track to surpass Jurassic World Rebirth. And if it wasn't for a laughable international box office, that would be pretty good movie. But yeah, like I said, we'll talk about that in the next video. But just before we put a bow on this, like, for as much as people are dragging Superman over the coals for the international, I mean, we could probably do the same for Fantastic Four, especially when we get that update. We'll be able to really see where the discrepancies lie, because maybe superhero movies just really don't play like that around the world anymore. Maybe people are done outside of the big team up movies, or maybe it's just whenever their main actors and featured characters say dumb shit like this over and over again, maybe everybody's just tired of this stuff, because I know I am at this point.
There's a handful of fascists that I would just throw into outer space. That's what I would do.
Oh, God. At this point in time, like, okay, yeah, again, it's a very agreeable position. We hate fascism. Duh, let's just clap for that. Yeah, okay, everybody's on your side with that one. But, yo, if that's your go-to with what you would do if you had the Thing's powers, you know, instead of having a charming or a fun response, you immediately go, duh, Nazis, the orange man bad. Because, yeah, you immediately, you get touched up by Pedro. What is it, a day that ends in Y? But we all know those are likely the conversations you have behind the scenes, because we know the way that Pedro likes to use his words in regards to Trump. And honestly, it's just so fucking tiring, dude. You just want to constantly bring in fucking politics instead of, it's like, okay, cool. What would you do if you had super strength like the Thing? One of the most common desires for people who, whenever they're posited the question, okay, if you could have one superpower, what would it be? It would either be flight or super strength. And honestly, all of the shit that's included with super strength, it's probably going to be my go-to if I was to think about it, because yeah, you could leap tall buildings in a single bound. You would theoretically have increased endurance due to your, capabilities to just simply lift and engage with super strength. So yeah, you would have improved tendons and joints and all of that stuff. So all of the hypotheticals that you could run on that one, that would be great. But no, throw fascists into space. It's like, okay, cool. We see where you're at. And if that's the quality of insight that you get on the interview tour, there's a reason why nobody's really checking in with this movie anymore. It's just fucking dead. And oh yeah, to just circle back around to the whole my female Silver Surfer, making the Invisible Girl the leader of the group, Fantastic Four bombs with the target audience, women and families. Oh wow, imagine that. It's almost like superhero movies. It's almost like action movies, which ostensibly are what Marvel movies are. Yeah, that's kind of what guys like, and they're gonna go watch it, and that's fine. Making things for guys, yeah, it's alright. It's allowed. We're half of the population, for fuck's sakes. And so if you did things that actually appealed to your audience, like, have we seen anything? Like, Marvel is such a wonderful case study in and of itself. Have we seen a company directly go against the desire of their actual audience, not their target audience, such a consistent amount of time? Because normally you get these companies who do dumb shit like this and they get slapped in the nose and knocked back to reality really quick. But here we are. I would say things ended up kicking off in this direction with Captain Marvel 2018. So here we are 7 years later and they're still forcing this fucking dumb shit, even when it's obvious it's not working. Like, we have never seen anything like this. It may have been worse with other franchises, just how overt and how feminized they go off rip like that. But just how long this has gone on in Marvel is something that is eventually going to be studied when Marvel movies stop, because they just can't even break $100 million. We got close with the Marvels, another blatant example, and another one that has very similar results when it comes to these demographic panderings, where it's like, just make good movies, okay? 1977, a little movie called Star Wars came out, and guys really liked it. And you know what else? Because it was a movie that was unapologetically geared towards men, it was a good film, it was a coherent story, and some women liked it as well. I know, right? The fucking wild concept. If you do something good, guys are gonna like it, and women are gonna like it too. But women rejected the female Silver Surfer and the girl boss leader, Sue Storm. Even families didn't show up as much, and while Sue Storm said it's about family, most families watched Superman instead. The percentage of families that went to see Marvel's Fantastic Four was 17% compared to Superman's 31%. Shit. The average for families seeing a PG-13 movie also happens to be 21%. So we see, yeah, families avoided Fantastic Four, but again, went to see a Gunn's DCU debut. That's interesting. Okay. Proves that Kevin Feige, Disney, and Marvel don't have a clue when it comes to catering to a non-existent fan base. Oh yeah, exactly. So yes, the Fantastic Four audience is heavily skewed male, 69% of the audience made up of dudes. Yeah, and that's fine. Well, that's fine, unless, of course, you are an activist feminist, an activist ideologue that staff these halls over at Disney that thinks that this was a good idea, who thought that the success of Captain Marvel back in 2018 had nothing to do with that character being set up as the linchpin in between Infinity War and Endgame, and if you didn't go and watch her movie, nothing was going to make sense moving forward. But in actuality, she didn't end up playing that big of a role in Endgame, and perhaps that could have, because there's an interesting conversation that I just recently listened to as to what was the watershed moment for Marvel, the moment where the shit hit the fan, and a lot of people pointed to and came to the realization that it was probably Endgame, because now with retrospect, a lot of people, for as much as, you know, my emotions and my big culminating events, you know, that landed well and still gives you the warm feelies years afterwards, a lot of the storytelling and character problems, yeah, they really started to rear their ugly head around there, and cracks very much started to form at that point in time. And so, no, it probably wasn't the Marvels or Ant-Man and the Wasp or, you know, Multiverse of Madness and Thor Love and Thunder's catastrophic second week drop-offs. No, it was probably Endgame. Probably Captain Marvel, because even now people are genuinely agreeing, or rather generally agreeing, genuinely coming to the conclusion that Infinity War is probably the last great Marvel movie, full stop. And so will Marvel learn from this? Of course not, because they got a plan moving forward. They got Black Panther 3, they got X-Men casting that is going to be starting up very soon, and Blade and Deadpool 4 are lower priorities. But we heard recently all of that news about, oh no, yeah, oh, Blade's totally not dead, guys. We got plans. There were 4 versions of the script. Kevin Feige, right? Yeah, Kevin Feige said that. Now we're focused on something, but that's lower priorities. And because we kind of ran out of old Fox properties to milk for nostalgia points, yeah, Deadpool 4, we'll get around to it when we get around to it. But this is a very interesting interview that they have right here. So could have been worse. Oh, variety, going for the throat right away. Okay, could have been better. That's a collective takeaway from Fantastic Four. Oh, wow, now we're coming to that conclusion, huh? Because I thought it was just gangbusters in the first week, but then, yeah, ultimately coming to the conclusion that, oh, fuck, we took that bronze in July, and yeah, it's probably going to be our most successful movie of the year, but when you compare it to the rest of the MCU, 2025 has been the worst year for Marvel. But I think every objective metric, your shows haven't tracked at all on Nielsen or Illuminate at all whatsoever. Ironheart, everybody's already forgotten that thing happened. That, what, hasn't even been a month at this point. And Daredevil, does anybody remember that came out back in March? No? But yeah, Fantastic Four likely going to land between $500 and $600 million at the box office. And that's only going to be slightly better than Captain America. And then the Thunderbolts not even cracking 4. It's like, this has been an atrocious year. By the time you put a bow on Fantastic Four, you're going to have some non-Avengers movies make more money than Marvel made in 2025. It's wild. But yes, talking about the future projects that are out there, because there's a couple of takeaways. This is quite a long article, so if you want to read it, the link will be in the description. The reality change, the calculus in Marvel. Yeah, because Yeah, Fantastic Four, by the way, it's going to make, yeah, $500 to $600 million. It's still probably going to lose money because of an enormous marketing budget. And yeah, even if they're going to admit to, if we pull up the numbers one more time, oh no, we just go back to the comparison chart, they're going to claim $200 million. Well, stick around for that Superman movie. Or, I'm sorry, the Superman video that I'm going to be doing. Because there's also reason to believe that that $200 million is kind of bullshit. But Thunderbolt's helmer, Jake Schreier, yeah, is set to direct the tentpole. Boo. With the studio fine-tuning Michael Leslie's script. Yay. Casting will begin soon, and the field is wide open. But Marvel has indicated that that it's looking for younger talent rather than A-listers to keep the cost down, says another agent. Or just, stars, quote-unquote stars, or at least high-ceiling stars with a little bit of controversy. Again, don't be surprised when Rachel Zegler gets cast as Rogue or Jubilee. You just wait. You just wait. Marvel is holding a July 23rd, July 23rd, 2027, Jesus Christ, on the release calendar for an unnamed film, but sources say it won't be filled by the X-Men. Oh yeah, while Matt Shackman's Fantastic Four features a bona fide TV star in Pedro Pascal. I mean, you take a look at his movie output, and Gladiator 2, a bit part in that, but what else has he done? Yeah, he's done a bunch of TV shit. Well, he's provided voice lines in The Mandalorian, you got Golf to Death and The Last of Us. He's in Narcos all the way back in the day. Remember that? Narcos was fun. But yes, he was an A-list TV star. Remember when Hollywood used to do that? You would have guys cut their teeth in TV. Robin Williams, Bruce Willis immediately come to mind. And then they would become movie stars. Used to actually do that. But now in the era of prestige TV, we've just blurred the lines too much. But talking a little bit more about Pedro, and also kind of doing a little bit of damage control from what Shackman said in an interview, I think ahead of the release of Fantastic Four, saying that Reed Richards is, or at least heavily alluding to the idea that he was going to be leading the Avengers moving forward, because we know a shockingly small amount about Doomsday just in general. But it came out, I seen a post that Chris Hemsworth, Thor is going to be a co-lead or something like that, so whatever the fuck that means at this point. But as for who will be the star of the film, we also heard that, Captain Falcon and Yelena, which, okay, cool. They couldn't put butts in the seats for their own film, so why would you think that that would help for an Avengers film? But sources say Pascal is not the centerpiece of Doomsday, but does have an integral role. I would kind of imagine that, given we also learned via Rebecca Romaine that they don't even have a completed script, so who even fucking knows? I'd imagine that was probably fairly malleable, pun not intended, for Mr. Fantastic. And if Fantastic Four ended up doing gangbusters on its opening weekend and having an incredibly strong first week, yeah, he probably could have been the leader of the Avengers, but now it'll be more of an ensemble piece. Did you see all the chairs that we had? There's a big reason. Everybody's gonna have to have their time. But yeah, man, the last 2 points here, brand new day, right? The new Spider-Man film is supposed to be is starting its filming today, apparently. That's what I'm hearing, and we're likely to have a new costume reveal or whatever the fuck at this point in time. Who cares? Maybe we'll talk about that next week. I legitimately don't care. It's brand new day is probably going to be the best film that Marvel's going to put out in this phase, but honestly, what does that mean at this point? But something else that also came out today was that stupid animated Eyes of Wakanda that I haven't heard a dick all about. But hey, that's going to theoretically lead into Black Panther 3, which, if you see here as well. However, ideas are percolating on Ryan Coogler's helm to have Black Panther 3 creating excitement internally. Oh, great. But they also had high hopes for Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, and how did that end up working out? So yeah, Black Panther 3, another film to round out a trilogy of films that, the first one made well over $1 billion. And then the second one, does anybody even remember Wakanda Forever? But it made about $800 million, about half of what Black Panther 1 made. So if we're in this era of milking a cow of every last drop, what are the returns of Black Panther 3 going to be? And kind of like, who's leading the Avengers? Who the fuck is going to be Black Panther? So yeah, Marvel, you're not quite out of shells to fire in regards to the health of your brand, because Doomsday's still going to do quite well for you. And even though you're not going to reap the benefits of Spider-Man, that's probably going to do reasonably well at the box office as well. Not quite the billion of No Way Home, but probably still decent returns, okay? Because Spider-Man's Spider-Man at the end of the day. But yeah, Avengers is going to make $1 billion, but as for the rest of your brand, oh boy! Everything after Doomsday, Secret Wars looking directly at you, yeah, we got the answer to the health of the superhero genre here at the beginning of August, and it's about as bad as everybody feared. Apathy has firmly set in. And how do they recover? Well, it all revolves around making good products, but by looking at who they're employing and what their tactics moving forward are going to be, yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath for a turnaround anytime soon. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.